JP Markets. And so the FSCA has finished doing the investigation, and they've applied for immediate liquidation of JP Markets, which just means that they want JP Markets closed. And liquidation is firstly to pay off their creditors. When you're running a brokerage company like JP Markets, they borrow a lot of money. And so the liquidation process would be basically just allocating which creditors will be paid first before the company closes. So the FSCA wants JP Markets closed down. And the reason is, from what I've seen in the investigation, well, this is just to let you know that the application was filed for the 12th, but they've extended it to the 26th because JP Markets wants to fight the liquidation application. So essentially, what happened, just to catch you up a bit on what happened, this was in a few months ago. There was the issues with, this is when COVID started. There were technical issues with JP Markets that their systems would fail and people were losing money. They weren't paying withdrawals and refunds and manipulation. And then there was a woman I actually talked about, Miss Peterson, who lost 1 million rands. She had 1 million rands in her account, and she lost that money due to the system's failure. And JP Markets didn't give her money back, even though they knew the system happened, and obviously they can go back to their records. They didn't give her money back. So this was just what was going on, and everyone was talking about manipulation of the markets and, well, basically their charts, not of the markets, but of their charts and candlesticks. And so there were petitions on Facebook, and essentially the FSCA got involved, and then they started the investigation. When they started the investigation, though, I thought when they were doing the investigation that they were going to find stuff about, you know, um, CFD manipulation, or market manipulation, um, having basically there's some tech apparently that um, brokers can use essentially to trigger their systems to fail, to automatically shut down, which was causing a lot of the technical issues. But FSC has finished their research and the investigation, and they found no manipulation. This is what's scary. They found no manipulation on JP Markets' side. They, even though it's unpopular and people don't want to hear it, there's no manipulation. They haven't come out and said that they're seeing JP Markets is doing unethical practices or that they're stealing people's money. The reason why the FSCA wants JP Markets closed is simply because they didn't apply for their derivatives license. So JP Markets is operating as giving basically market making CFDs, contracts for difference. It's just basically financial spread betting, similar to, like, your forex trading, but you need a derivatives license to do that. So what happened was, JP Markets' lawyers basically, they paid the fees for the license, but they forgot to apply. Very silly mistake. So even though you've paid for your license, they just didn't apply for it. It's like paying for a birth certificate and not applying for it, or paying for ID and not applying for it. Essentially, that's why the FSCA wants JP Markets closed. So it has nothing to do with any major manipulation like the issue we're seeing with the big banks and the rand manipulation, which I'm gonna get into. But yeah, so there hasn't been any manipulation issues. What was interesting, that was what was interesting to me, and that's the only issue they have with JP Markets. And so JP Markets is basically gonna fight this. If they lose, JP Markets is closed, because essentially it means you're operating illegally. If you're operating without a license, it means you're operating illegally. Um, so if they lose, JP Markets closes until they can apply for another license. Or if books are really open, maybe they did find something um, suspicious with JP Markets, but they obviously, it's an ongoing investigation. They can't let us know, so we're not too sure until the case closes. But as far as we can tell, there's nothing suspicious that's been going on with JP Markets. The issue is simply that they didn't apply for a license, even though they paid for it. Um, what what was also interesting, sorry, second point, was, did you know that JP Markets makes 300 million a month? Let that sink in. They make 300 million rands a month in deposits. Like I think I'd want to say I did some research on the owner, the founder of JP Markets, and he started off as a bank, as a gold trader. He was in commodities, gold and silver, and he himself never traded the foreign exchange market, but he did trade gold. And he realized something, that the real money isn't with the trading, the real money is with brokeraging. Because if you take, why be part of the winning 10% when you can make money off the 90% who are losing? So essentially, he realized that working in a bank, that listen, brokerage is where the money is. JP Markets makes 300 million a month. I mean, I found that astonishing. Anyways, um, they still, as this announcement's been made a couple of hours ago by the FSCA, JP Markets is still suspended, meaning it can't take on new clients. It can keep the clients it still has until these liquidation proceedings are over. But as far as we can tell, things don't look too good for JP Markets, especially if it comes to light that they can't explain why they didn't apply for that license. Because you can't, the courts aren't like, your mother's kitchen. You can't ask her for forgiveness if you forgot to pay the electricity. Things don't work like that. If you don't have a license and you're operating without one, you're being involved in illegal activity. But let's see how this all plays out.